All right, so we're gonna manifest. We're gonna do some powers of manifestation now, and we're gonna manifest the Loki season two, episode one of Loki season two. I'm just gonna have this like contribution because I don't know, like Loki is a really interesting show, but like kind of I'm not like super interested in I'm not like super interested in like watching reruns of things when it's not like around the time of the new season. So like now the new season is coming out and I'm actually like, okay, so I'm gonna do a little contribution and like because I've kind of got myself organized now. So like I'll do a little contribution for this new season because we've arrived at this point. But like that's how things are gonna work now. It's like I'm not gonna like really like fuck with anything that I'm not like that is not like imminent. So now we're gonna do a contribution for Loki season one, and like I'm just kind of like testing these waters here because like I don't know what this show even is honestly, and I just kind of arrived at the MCU which has my exploited work in it. So I'm like here and like I'm gonna do this like so I had like a contribution of like the birthstone and the fertility stone, which are actually birth artifacts and fertility artifacts now. But like it is interesting because like the Wakanda Forever, like that film actually happened, and there was a lot of people wearing white garb, and there was a lot of like just Black Panther stuff happening. So like the birthstone and the fertility art, like the birth artifact and fertility artifact, that actually kind of like factored in to a certain extent. And like some of the like attire that I like designed was like for the film for Wakanda Forever was also in the film. So like they're also showing the process of them mining my power. Like some of these things did actually manifest into these films. Not all of them did, but some of them did. So like I'm gonna arrive to Loki season one with my power, and we're going to just like we're going to just kind of um I'm going to like reveal like some of my like I'm gonna reveal my like reconstructed brain, and then we're just gonna test the waters to see if um, so it's really interesting. So in Frozen 1, she says time to test the limits and break through. And then she like kind of is realizing in Frozen 2 that she's a water spirit, so she's testing the waters in that movie. So maybe that's what that is. It's like she's actually in this at this point in the film, she's like realizing that she's a water person and kind of like reconstructing how she's interacting with this how she's interacting with her like power and her like true self or whatever. Like that might be what's happening. So we're gonna like do a little contribution here, and we're gonna manifest we're gonna manifest this the Loki season one contribution. And so like what we're going to do is like I'm going to reference the birth artifact and the fertility artifact and see if like that power manifests. So my right hand is like the birth artifact. And so like I've got my mastery in my mastery studio, I've got those rings. So I've got the birth like artifact ring and the fertility artifact ring. It's quartz and obsidian. So my obsidian power, which is like my it's like that's kind of like obsidian is made from water pouring over a lava source block. So that's water and fire power in the game. And so like also I said come sit in my nosebleeds, best seats in the house, which is like Tron Legacy, which is probably what happened in Loki and just in 2019 or 2018 in Frozen because I wrote that song and then like we went into Tron Legacy because like I am Flynn, but like I don't know what happened. Like but like that's what's happening. So we're arriving there and hold on. Mm, so like we're arriving to Tron Legacy because like that's kind of what's happening is like this is being revealed and we're like it's also enchantment was in Frozen 2 and we were talking from the future and like Frozen is one of those movies that has like has references to all of the like all of Disney's content. They just didn't tell anybody that. And so it'll be really interesting to see that like the Enchanted Forest story must have something to do with Loki and Loki season one and Loki season two. So I think that that's kind of what's happening is that it's like we have to just be like aware that disenchantment power, and like whatever the power is that they brought me here to work on, like whatever the power is that they brought me here to work on, has to do with the Blue Neighborhood trilogy because that was like what I posted. Also, Olympus and Asgard are battling. So like even though like I haven't like fully like my power is hasn't been fully revealed, but it has been revealed. And so like the battle is also not over. So the Asgardians are battling me, and that's probably why they're still like mild frustrations happening because like Olympus and Asgard are battling, even though I think that we're largely like I don't know at what point in the battle we're in, but like that's the whole point. Is she said grow yourself into something new, so now we're actually like manifesting that, and like it was also kind of just like a bid that was put out there, but it seems like it was a bid that was received. So I'm gonna do this contribution to see like how much more we can manifest and like how much we can like restore like the authentic creative work uh how much we can restore the authentic creative work and how that actually manifests like in the community. And so I think that that would be really cool to see like I've got my like master in my mastery studio, like I've got the birth artifact and the fertility artifact and I'm wearing my rings and like the oh yeah, I was gonna look up quartz. Ah, awesome. Okay, so sand is made. Okay, so my quartz. This is actually good. So quartz is in sand. So sand is made of quartz and silicon dioxide. And like the fertility artifact is made with sand, and the birth artifact is made of is obsidian. So that's my power. That's my full power is in these two rings. Is obsidian, which is water pouring over lava source spot. So that's fire and water. And then my fertility artifact is quartz, which is like nether. It's just like so that kind of like is so that not only is that like the power of not only is that like the power of sand, but it's also like the connection that I have to the nether. And so like obsidian, like enchanting tables are made with obsidian. That's probably what the two worlds that collided are: sand and quartz, and because like quartz ore is found in the nether. And the soul sand, so that's probably why soul sand exists because like there's soul sand in the nether, because quartz is also in the nether. So like that makes a ton of sense. Well, that makes a ton of sense why like the why soul sand's in the nether because like quartz is sand or like sand has quartz in it. And so that is actually really interesting. So my fertility artifact is sand and my birth artifact is obsidian. And so like that kind of bridges the like that kind of bridges the like because water is like the hydrosphere has water and air. So like that's all four elements. It's fire, water, and air, and earth, which is sand. So like that has all of the elements in it, and so like the obsidian, like the birth artifact is obsidian, and so like that side of the world is like the Lanai side of the world from the game that like Loki and Sylvie went into in season one. So like this is how we're manifesting episode one of season two. Is like I am here, and however you guys depict this in the movie is how you depict it. I don't really care, but like I have the birth artifact in my right hand, and that's like the right side of the map, and that's where we're gonna start with. It's not set in stone, but that's what we're gonna start with. Is like I have the birth artifact on a ring in my on my right hand. I have the fertility artifact on a ring in my left hand, and so my power is that it's like and that makes a lot of sense because the nigh side of the world was flooded, and like the sand was not like fully constructed on that side of the world, whereas the sand was fully constructed on the Iverona side, and like also Ravonna Ringslayer was over there. So like that's kind of how this can grow, and that can become like a new thing. And so what can happen in this is that like we're gonna arrive to Loki season two episode one, and in my with my obsidian mastery, with my like birth artifact mastery, like you will show how like how that world is reconstructed, and you'll kind of see that like enchantment power that you see with Loki and Sylvie as they're battling Goliath, which I think had to do with the Fordish email, which is not there anymore. So we'll see like that power, and we'll see like me kind of harnessing that power the same way that classic Loki is like reconstructing these castles and stuff, which is probably why he was old, because that side of the world looked old. And so, like, you'll see me kind of like reconstructing that with the birth artifact, which is how I built Wakanda. And so, like, Wakanda Forever is a good template for like how we can actually see that manifest on screen, since we didn't actually see that happen in Wakanda Forever. Maybe we can see something more similar to that in Loki, since there's already precedent for that happening in the season 1 of Loki. And so then what will be really interesting to see is like how that is giving context to the water, like, and how like all of Lanai was flooded. Maybe we can even, maybe they'll reference Talokan or what happened to Talokan, because we kind of saw what happened to Talokan in Eternals. Like that's what's happening with Druid. He's watching that, like he's watching Talokan burn. So like maybe we can see like that got flooded or something, and like we can see my like birthstone power, and we can see like the power of the birth artifact in Loki season 1, and like that similar aesthetic to the battle with Goliath, but like it's actually just like it being reconstructed, but like maybe it has like the water vapor has like the memory of what happened to that region as we're seeing it reconstructed or whatever, or as we're seeing like the mist clear. I think that that would be really interesting, and that also makes sense because Elsa has to like clear the mist, and that's how like Anna and Kristoff and like Olaf go back to Arendelle or whatever. So like that makes a ton of sense if like I'm arriving here and like we're opening this like land, opening the enchanted land so that like people can like go to wherever they need to go or whatever, and like we can return to like normalcy in life. And so like I think that would be really interesting, or as close to normalcy as we're gonna get. And so like I think that would be really interesting to see. Like I'm having like you see the power of the birth artifact, and how like that like this like this wellspring of obsidian is like we're seeing kind of like the source block of that power, which is my ring. And so maybe that's how the birth artifact and the fertility artifact can work, is that it's more or less just a source block in the game. And so it's like what this power is, like the amalgamation of that power, because it's not just the game, it's like it's how the game is synchronized with my brain. But like the birth artifact is the source block of like my mastery of the obsidian power. So it's like I've created my own source blocks now. So it's like I've got two source blocks that are the source of my power, which is like the obsidian ring, and it's like the birth artifact and the fertility artifact. I think that that would be really cool. Like that would be a really interesting way to depict this. And so like now we're gonna go into Loki season 1 or Loki season 2, and we're actually going to like reveal like my power and how like it has like flooded like Lanai, and it has flooded it in the sense of like the mist in the atmosphere and the like actual water that has flooded the like land itself. And I think, and then also like the sandstorm that like dusted the region, and also that might even like maybe kind of like I don't know, just be really interesting to see that that's kind of what the aesthetic of what's happening in Lanai is, and you're just seeing that like that's what the raw power of the birth artifact is, which also makes sense because a birth is like there's an afterbirth, and like a baby is bloody. So like that's what it is. It's like bloody baby. And so like that would be really interesting to see. But then also as we like that can kind of like get the ball rolling on, we're eventually going to see the baby be cleaned and like the blood be washed off of the baby. That's why like the beds were red, but they're now white beds. But we'll see all of that get constructed, and then we'll see how that like how we enchant that, and then like we like rise that, like we have kind of absorbed that into my brain, and then we like rise it back into the Minecraft game, because that's what my power is, it's light. And so it could be really cool to see like how that is absorbed into my brain, and it's kind of like interacting with my like neurons with my headphones on, and then like you see me reconstruct it in the new server, and I think that would be super interesting to see like the game be reconstructed in the new server. Like I think that would be super interesting. And like that's kind of what I uploaded this earlier. I took a video earlier of like me doing these like rainbow light images. And so like we can do like an aesthetic of that too, is that like there can be kind of like a very dark element of this water power because water is very dark if you go deep enough, and I went really deep, and I even built another portal really deep underwater. And so like it'll be really interesting to see like a really really dark abyss of the obsidian water power, but then also like beautiful like kind of rainforest like rainbow lights. And like you can have like the video that I'm gonna upload later today, or actually I'm gonna upload the video to accompany the premiere. So we're gonna have that video uploaded, and that's gonna go live at 8, and like that will be the premiere of it. And so like we'll see like the birth artifact power, which is like this really really dark, deep, dark blue obsidian ocean seafloor darkness power, and like the exact same ring with this beautiful like lavish kind of rainforest like power, like this sort of like aesthetic of like just like a really serene like calm rainforest, and just to see how all of that power is emanating from that source block of the birth artifact, because like that is the range of my like obsidian power. I think that would be really really beautiful. And then on the Lena or on the Iverona side, we'll see like the fertility artifact, which is like white, so that's sand, and that's kind of like precision, because like that side of the world was made after I had already made the Lanai side, and so like that was made like with like mastery and with practice having been established already, and so that part of it is more like engineering. Well, it's like it's more of like me kind of working on the like creative side of my brain, while the engineering side was like kind of going through a metamorphosis. Because like the Lanai side is the engineering side. The creative side is the Ivorona side. But that side, you know, it's kind of like the Feebas. That was like a little baby. And it's cute, like it's a cute baby, but it is a little baby though. And so like my creative side is like, but there's more precision there because like it's more precise. It's not really any more precise than Lanai actually, but it seems like it is because it was built on the untouched, and so like the untouched was designed to be like a paradise untouched. And so I think that that's kind of what it is, that it's like it's more precise just because it didn't get as like beaten as the other side did. Although the other side is actually more technological, like the Lanai side is actually more technological and more engineering and more like precise, but it didn't manifest that way initially because there was a lot more like physical labor and like arduous labor that went into that construction, and like just a lot more just like devastating power that had to be mastered before I got to the precision of that side of the world. So like that side of the world, the Lanai side is the precise side, but it just took a lot longer for me to master that. And so it didn't manifest that way. But like so the sand power, like I in the untouched, I worked on the sand power with the fertility artifact. That's why in the Ivorona side of the map, like the quartz manifested there and it did not manifest. It manifested there before it manifested in Lanai, I think. Yeah, it did because I reconstructed Ivorona, and then I made the quartz murals, and then I made the quartz murals in Lanai after that. So it was like there was like the Ivorona side, like the fertility artifact is making like that's like sand and quartz and like creativity, because I had more time to actually like construct things from the perspective of like there are people inhabiting this, and like construct things that were tailored to like suit like human like occupancy or inhabitants or whatever. And so I think that that's kind of there's also wolves, like wild wolves in the Lanai side, and there were only tamed wolves that were guarding food in the Ivorona side. Whereas the wolves in Lanai were a wolf pack that I was like, I mean they were tamed as well, but that was a wolf pack that I was like that I survived in the wilderness with. Whereas like the ones that are in Ivorona are guard dogs that are like guarding like the food and like where these twins were born. So like I think that that's kind of like it shows that how like the fertility artifact reconstructed the world that was kind of like destroyed and abandoned when like due to the power of the birth artifacts. And I think that that would show an interesting balance of how these two source blocks powers conflicted with each other, but then also came together to reconstruct the entire map. And so then once that balance was achieved, which took about 10 years, but like once that balance was achieved in my mind, like we were able to actually like reconstruct the server, and then it was absorbed into my brain, and then it was able to be like it was absorbed into my brain kind of like as a memory of me like literally remembering who I am, and then like I was able to actually like consolidate that with like what is actually manifesting in like life. And so now that's like opening, and like my enchantment power is being revealed because now the Fortish like Hotmail uh email has been deleted. And so now what we're going to do is like we're going to like reconstruct the server. Like we're gonna reconstruct the server, like cause like that first episode will be like the introduction of the birth artifact and the fertility artifact, kind of like showing the aesthetic of the history of these two artifacts and and how like they you because we I've already told you guys the story of Lanai and Iverona. So it's like now you know that the birth artifact is kind of like what constructed and destroyed Lanai. The fertility artifact is what constructed um, Iverona. You know what the significance of those two artifacts are. And so then we will arrive to the Sandcraft Online server. We'll arrive to the Sandcraft Online server, and we will like you'll see how like I constructed in the Sandcraft Online server. Um, I constructed and I went to the desert and constructed I went to the desert and constructed the seven majors, and then I went to Lithia and constructed that. And the fountain is like has like touched down, and so it is like it has like actually like it has actually been like ingrained into the landscape. Um, and there's actually context to what it is. So we'll see that power be more like a mist than a storm cloud. It'll look more like a mist in this one than a storm cloud in the other one. And we'll have the context and the history of the power of these two artifacts, and we'll see these two artifacts construct the kingdoms, and then like we'll also see how like the characters are actually like have like a have actually have like the have actually have like a story to like uh digest and like behold of this power and like what this power actually is, which is also really beautiful because Eros's power we kind of saw he has those same kind of doors that like he can open these doors kind of similarly to the doors of the TVA. Like Eros's power looks like the same power as that. And it also looks like the power that's in Asgard with the Bifrost. So like Loki, I think is learning that he is like Olympian probably. I don't. I mean, because we've been introduced to Olympus in Thor: Love and Thunder, and like it kind of looked like Hermes was Namor. Like that kind of looks like Hermes. So Olympian things are happening in the MCU, and so it would be really interesting to see if Loki is learning maybe that he is an Olympian or something. I don't really know what's happening with Loki, but I think it would be really interesting to see this light power and to see how the like just to really see like the majesty of how the world is being reconstructed, and it's being reconstructed in the design of the original architect. And I think it would be really that's like it really it'd be really interesting to show like however much of that is relevant to the MCU because it's obviously not all going to manifest that way, but like it'll be interesting to see how much of that is relevant to the MCU and to see how much of it does manifest in the sense of um like well, Lanai was built like first in the other server, in the Lanai server. Lanai was built first, and then we went to Iverona because Lanai got destroyed. And so it's also, and then like what happened is we had to go to Lanai to then reconstruct. We had to go to Iverona to then and like build up Iverona with like some of the remnants of what happened in Lanai. We had to go and build up Iverona and then sail back to Lanai to reconstruct Lanai. And so it'll be really interesting to see how in the Samecraft Online server, I went to the west region of the world first, built that up, and then built Lanai, like Lithia, after that. And I think that the significance of that is that like I built Lithia and I built Lanai, like like something in my brain had me aware that Lithia, like that the west side of the world had to be constructed first, and then the east side of the world could be constructed. And it is interesting that that happened because like I was like making three regions in the original map. Like I settled the west, I settled the east, and I was settling in the south. And well, I mean, I settled kind of some of the north too, but like I had settled like all four regions really. But it's really mostly the east, the west, and the south, and then the north is kind of just part of the east. But like I think that because that happened the same way in both servers, is that the northeast was like the same as the north. Like there was no actual north. There was just a northeast and a west and a south. And so like that happened the same way in both servers. But it is interesting, and like the fountain manifested in the same place in both servers. But what we had to do, and maybe this also makes sense because I had to go to the west side and build that first because that was like the reserve to Lithia. But it was the fountain and the power of the birth artifact that actually like destroyed the server and like caused the imbalance in the server. So it made sense that I had to build the uh west, like settle the west first in the Samecraft Online server, and then reconstruct and then construct the fountain because it was the fountain, it was the overwhelming power of the fountain that destroyed the server. And it like destabilized it like beyond control. And so like it was that power that actually destabilized the server. And so we had to like fully construct the West and fully settle the West before we built a mechanism as powerful as the Lithia Fountain. And so like that was like what we learned in the initial test was that like that fountain was too powerful to be built in a world that was not like already stable. And like I think that that's what happened. And so since we like settled and fully constructed the West and then built the fountain, like it didn't destroy the server because we already had an infrastructure that was solid. And so like that, but the server manifested exactly like the same way. It just had to be done in a different order. And so that's how you can tell, like, that's probably a really telling piece of information for how we proceed, is that like, that was also what's happening with Wreck-It Ralph. It was out of order. And like Jafar and like Jasmine's Broken Hourglass. And so like, since this was constructed accurately, like in the correct order, just kind of like how I like to do things in my life in the correct order, like since this was done in the correct order, it like manifested accurately and like in a timely manner, or like like, it's not timely. Like it would have taken anybody else way longer, but I don't move. I move faster than other people. So like I think that that's kind of what was happening is that it's like I like the server manifested like actually like perfectly the way that it would have had it been done in the correct order, which I think actually is a really telling piece of information. And so like it'll be really interesting to see how like the birth artifact and the fertility artifact like fully construct the world, and like the fertility artifact kind of represents like sand and quartz and like earth and like kind of sand and wind probably, just to balance it out. The fertility artifact probably represents sand and wind, and the birth artifact represents like fire and water. Like obsidian is made with fire and water, like sand and wind is like the fertility artifact. So like we'll see these like this kind of white silver power of the fertility artifact that looks like Loki and Sylvie enchanting, and we'll see this kind of like blue black power that is the obsidian like birth artifact, and then we'll just see those powers in my like right and left hand, and it'll just be really interesting for that to be like my reveal and my like contribution to uh this premiere, and just see if that actually manifests in some tangible form, and then we'll just go from there. And then like that's kind of missed open, and so we'll see like I don't know if the second one will be misclosed, but that's kind of like the like the larger scale of it, and then we'll see like how, since we're putting that out there to be manifested, if we can have like a smaller version of it in the second one, and then so on, because like again we kind of just have to put it all out there to see what like sticks and to see what people are interested in, and then like because it's kind of like I'm seeing how much I can do in this like cinematography world, and like I'm seeing how much I can do in this like world of cinematography, and it'll be really interesting to see like because people are probably trying to see if I can direct, and so if I demonstrate to people that I can direct, then maybe my powers will grow in the sense of like the restrictions that I have is that people don't know me and that people don't know like what I'm capable of. And so if I demonstrate to people that I'm capable of manifesting things like just by sending them like contributions of what I can do, maybe that will have them like instill the like confidence in them that like they will actually be like, oh, I actually would like to see if you can actually just be a director. And then maybe that is what my power growing is that it's like it will actually manifest exactly as I want it to at that point in time because I'll actually be the director. So like I don't know, maybe that's what's happening. Who knows? I'm just throwing that out there just to see if it happens because like it'll just be really interesting. And that's just my contribution for Loki season one. I'll get that uploaded, and I'm gonna get my like my light uploaded, my like rainbow light uploaded, and then we're gonna watch this movie. Or we're gonna watch. I'm gonna probably just watch reactions today, and if it is interesting, maybe I will watch the actual show. But I don't know. I might, but again, like I don't know where the remote is, and I don't care enough to like actually try to look for it. So that's kind of what's happening. And it's also kind of the statement that I'm making is it's like I was perfectly willing to do this stuff when people weren't like going out of their way trying to make it inconvenient. But like once people started trying to make it inconvenient on purpose, I was like, well, I don't really care that much. It's like I was doing this as like a side thing, but you're like being an asshole. So like that's kind of why I'm not actually watching it. So it's like if you want me to watch this, if you want me to be like invested in this thing that you're making, like if you want me to be invested either as an audience member or as like a like contributor, that's fine, but like don't be a fucking asshole. It's not that hard.